I'll never forget the fear that washed over me. My heart raced, my throat tightened, and I could feel the sweat trickling down my back. This wasn't supposed to happen. I was just a high school kid, caught in what felt like a scene from a horror movie. It was just another normal day, or so I thought. I was 16, a junior in high school. It was fifth period, my lunch break, and straight after that, I had astronomy class. My school was big, 3 floors, and even then, there wasn't enough space for all the classes. So, they built 2 classrooms in the basement. That place was eerie. Everyone called it the chamber. That day, after finishing a quiz, I decided to meet up with my friend JJ in the basement bathroom. We were messing around, just, laughing and wasting time when JJ got a text that made us both freeze. "The school's on lockdown," he whispered, wide-eyed. Neither of our teachers knew we were out of the classroom, so we thought we'd sneak upstairs and look around. But when we opened the door to the main hallway, we were greeted by pitch black darkness. The lights were off, something that didn't happen in a normal lockdown. My stomach churned with unease. We ventured out anyway, but then we saw him. Not a teacher, not a student, just a man, dressed in a ragged dark hoodie, standing at the end of the hallway, menacingly, with that creepy smile, that damn smile. He looked wrong, out of place, like he didn't belong there at all. Without saying a word, we turned and bolted back down to the basement. We hid in the bathroom, the lights off, our breathing barely controlled. The silence was broken when the bathroom door creaked open. A shadowy figure slipped in, and suddenly it was pitch black again. The figure started breathing heavily, each breath echoing in the silence, getting closer and closer. We crouched down, hoping he wouldn't find us. I whispered, "Let's crawl out through the stalls," but even the whisper seemed too loud. Just as we started moving, the figure reached our stall and began banging on the door. I'll never forget the sound, the desperate, angry thuds against the door as we crawled under the stalls, out to the other side, and then ran out. We pounded on JJ's classroom door, and the teacher let us in, locking it behind us. Through the small window, we saw the man still lurking, his eyes wild. He was looking for us. It took an hour of silence before we could finally leave. No one ever caught him, and to this day, I wonder what would have happened if we'd stayed. After 20 years as a police officer, you'd think I'd seen it all, but there's one call that haunts me. It was a dark, stormy day, and I was sent to a middle school on lockdown. A suspicious man had been seen entering the school through a back door. When I arrived, I found the white van he'd been driving, parked right behind the building. All the doors were locked, and the van was empty. I radioed for backup and entered through a side door, making my way down the dark, echoing hallway toward the locker rooms. I'll never forget the silence. The only sound was my breathing and the faint scratching noises coming from somewhere down the hallway. I gripped my flashlight, walking slowly toward the boys' locker room where the man was last seen. Then a locker slammed shut. I raised my gun, my heart pounding. I yelled, "Police!" and waited for any movement. Then I heard it, faint but unmistakable, the voice of a young boy, muffled and desperate, whispering, "Help me." I followed the sound, and when I reached the locker, I realized the boy was trapped inside. He'd been hiding from the man, a blade pressed to his back. When I looked back at the parking lot, the white van was gone. The man was eventually caught a week later, but the image of that boy, his face pale, his arm bleeding from a cut where he tried to resist, that image still keeps me awake at night in a cold sweat. I was visiting Rowan University on my own, staying at a Hampton Inn. After a long day of tours, I was finally back in my room, unwinding. It was around 9 p.m. when an alarm went off. A flashing white light filled the room, and a recorded message played on a loop, warning all guests to stay in their rooms. I found it odd. I'd never heard of a hotel lockdown before. The light kept flashing, but eventually the alarm stopped, and I figured things would return to normal. I brushed my teeth, changed, and settled into bed. Then the phone rang. It was the front desk, and the voice on the other end was panicked. "Sir, please, stay calm. Walk out of your room slowly and don't look back." I froze, a chill running down my spine. I asked what was going on, but all she repeated was, "There's someone in your room. Get out immediately." I looked around, heart hammering. I checked under the bed, peeked into the bathroom, but found nothing. That's when I noticed the closet door, just a crack open. My breath caught as I saw it, a face staring back at me through the crack. I bolted out of that room, not stopping until I was safely in the lobby. Later, security showed me the footage of a man entering my space, my own room. They never figured out how he got in, but I'll never forget his eyes. As they led him away in handcuffs, he looked at me, smiling like he knew me. Sometimes, it's the moments that seem harmless that end up being the most dangerous. You never really know who's watching, who's waiting. Stay safe out there, because the next time you hear a strange noise, see a flicker in the dark, or feel like you're not alone, you just might be right.